to Atlantic Ocean, over me hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, for Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focused on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information. Talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Donna Charles, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In this edition of Between the Headlines, we're going to speak with candidate for the governor for the state of Virginia, Donna Charles. We are going to talk about her race or candidacy for governor of the great state of Virginia. Donna, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me.
We are so happy to have you. And by way of introduction, I'm going to play a short video of Donna introducing herself and why she's running. And after that, we're going to start the interview. Take a listen.
Hi, I'm Donna Charles. I'm running for governor of Virginia, and I'm running as an independent. Before I share why I'm running and where I stand on the issues that you care about, let me introduce myself. I am a veteran who served in the Air Force for almost a decade. I joined right before 9/11 and deployed to Iraq twice as an intelligence officer. I'm also a former civil servant who has worked on national security issues for over 20 years. I've served at the State Department, DoD, the intelligence community, the National Security Council, and on Capitol Hill. I pledge an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, an oath that I carried with me while protecting my fellow Americans at home and abroad. I'm running for governor because I live for public service and love Virginia, the place I called home after leaving active duty. And I'm running as an independent because I believe we all deserve a real choice in November. Remember, folks, none of the candidates for governor will face a primary before elections in November. So, once again, your party did not let you decide who should be the nominee. Let that sink in after what happened in 2024 and where it landed us today. Let's be clear, this crisis did not happen overnight. It took years to get us where we are today. If we want things to change, we have to reject old party politics and move differently. Virginians deserve better. Whether it's fighting for your rights, your health care, or more support for our veterans and first responders, I will hit the ground running. And I will fight like hell for a living wage for all Virginians. That's how you build stronger families, and that's how you improve the standard of living for everyone. In November, we have a chance to send a strong and clear message by choosing an independent voice. When I go to Richmond, I will build bridges.
Well, that's Donna introducing herself. Donna, thank you again for coming. And we want to say we are glad to have you. This is your first time on Focus on Liberia. I want to give you a bottle of water and say welcome and feel at home. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. Thank you.
Thank you. And Donna, I know you introduced yourself on the show. We also know that you have a connection with Liberia. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And let me ask you, this is huge. Why are you running?
Well, I'm running because I love Virginia. I have a heart for public service, and I am uh, leveraging the experience that I've gained over 20 years in national security and foreign policy in the U.S. government to help lead the next generation here in Virginia, and making sure I make Virginia an even better place to live in partnership with Virginians.
Yeah. And you are running as independent.
Yes,
We have the current governor is ineligible to run, so
right.
you have the
It's a wide open race. Yes.
right. This is wide open. Everybody. So you have the Democrat and Republican, both female.
Yes.
Right now, what we are reading is they are the top two candidates
Yes.
in the race. I mean, what's your chances of winning? With the country being so polarized, Democrats and Republican, you have and even the Republican is a black woman, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what are your chances?
Well, it's quite the historic race, and I appreciate you bringing up the probability and the statistics. At the end of the day, it's 2025, and if we've been watching the 2025 with any level of attention, we'll realize that almost anything can happen. There have been a lot of dark horses that have come up from behind. If you just look over at what happened in New York with Zoran Mamdani, he came up from behind at 1% in the polls and is now the prime contender to become mayor of New York City. And so while I realize that I am definitely a long shot running not only as an independent, but also as a write-in candidate because of the sabotage that occurred against my campaign, I will not be on the ballot. But I do not take anything for granted, and nor should either of the candidates, because we are in historic times. We are at a point in our country where people are dissatisfied with how both parties have placed us in the situation we're in today. So I'm responding to what I know to be where most Virginians are. Most Virginians are centrist, independent-minded, and are eager to see new blood, fresh face, and new ideas bringing change to Virginia in very difficult times.
And you say you are not going to be on the ballot?
No, I'm not. It's an unfortunate situation, but my campaign was targeted very early on in my candidacy. I've already filed a police report. It has been under investigation, but the unfortunate reality is that an operative, the identity of this person is known to law enforcement, but an operative was deployed to one of my field operations in Roanoke, Virginia. And this person stole hundreds of signatures that I needed to qualify for ballot access. And it's a very disappointing reality of blood sport politics here, not just in Virginia, but in the United States.
Yeah.
And so while I will not be on the ballot because of this sabotage operation, I have determined that I will not give up, that I will continue my campaign. And I will forge ahead knowing that anybody who was interested in targeting my campaign that way obviously sees me as a contender and a threat.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't go after somebody like that if you didn't think they were a threat in any way.
Right. But and people can write in your name.
Absolutely. And it's an easy name to write in, Donna Charles.
Right. Polls after polls get both the Republican and the Democrat candidates neck to neck, and it comes back to that question. There must be a strong resolve that you can make it.
Yes.
Where are you drawing that energy from? And that
well, I've always had a very strong sense of determination and will to power. So that is obviously the most important thing. But I also realize that I have a very strong and compelling message. At any moment in the last month and a half that I've been steadily on the campaign trail, engaging voters, I have become more and more encouraged by how receptive, how resonant my message has been with voters, people I've been engaging with on a day-to-day basis. When people look at the platform and realize that my goal is to improve the standard of living for working class, middle class Virginians, for everyday Virginians, something clicks. So I get the very strong sense that with the right energy, with the right support, with the fundraising, obviously, which is a fundamental part of any viable campaign, and with the proper messaging tools, I will be able to prevail. And that is because, again, both parties, while you see the polls indicating, and whatever those polls are, we all know that polls can be taken with a grain of salt. We all realize that both parties are at historically low approval ratings across the country, not just here in Virginia, but across the country. So it is abundantly clear that people are eager to see somebody who speaks to the issues that they have to deal with on a daily basis. So I take nothing for granted, and neither should either of the candidates.
And you're right? At this time, there's a lot of distrust for both parties. Why is that so? And how are you, trying to take advantage of that?
Well, that's a really good question. It becomes abundantly clear when we look at what happened last Friday with the passage of One Big Beautiful Bill. While it's very easy to point fingers at solely at the Republican Party because they are in power in the House, the Senate, and the White House, we came down this road not just because of Republican leadership. We came down this road because of what happened not just last year, but in years prior. Both parties have unfortunately failed the American people, have failed to deliver on fundamental issues that affect people at the pocketbook level, health, and other forms of welfare. So when you think about, for instance, what One Big Beautiful Bill represents, it represents a massive gift to the wealthiest Americans. And the wealthiest Americans are not just Republicans, they're Republicans and Democrats. There are people who have been in Congress for decades who have magically become very wealthy as a function of, again, having access maybe to information that other people don't have access to, or having access to individuals that other people do not have access to. And so I think a lot of the American population, not just Virginians, but American broadly, are dissatisfied with how much self-serving and self-dealing is going on in Washington. And it's a reflection of a broken system that very much thrives on the status quo. This two-party system that allows people to remain deadlocked and become further polarized, and essentially creating a lack of policy movement and a lack of change in Washington that helps everyday Americans.
That's important that you said that, right? Because it is becoming clear to me now that, and I was reading or I was listening to one podcast, and this person said both parties serve the oligarch, right? Is one party want to keep it stable, the Democrats want to keep it stable, let things remain as they are, even though we are all serving the wealthy. And then the Republicans said, okay, we're going to turn it upside down, and but we all serving the wealthy. Take, for instance, even the current stance of the current administration on deporting people. It appears to me that both parties agree that they are all violent criminals that need to be getting rid of. The only difference is one is saying, let's go through the process. And the other guy is saying, the process doesn't matter. As long as they are criminals, let them go. But both are saying the same thing.
Well, not only are both saying the same thing, I think it's also very disingenuous for people to be wringing their hands and flapping their arms at this point when immigration reform was on the table for decades and nobody did anything substantial going back to the 80s and 90s. We are at a point where immigration has become a wedge issue, and both parties benefit from it being a wedge issue, in the sense that you have a large class of individuals in this country who have been long exploited, who have been kept under the thumb of employers who use threats of deportation and exposure to ensure that people don't complain in the workforce in particular. So this is a system, as we can all imagine, benefits not just Republicans, not just Democrats, but it benefits the wealthiest people in this country who make money off of exploiting the labor of people who are in desperate and dire straits. So if there were some real movement on immigration decades ago, even in the last year or so, if there were real movement among Republicans and Democrats, we wouldn't be seeing the atrocities that are occurring on American streets every day.
And so this is a beautiful message, right? But just like even in my country, Liberia, I mean, how many people, because we are so accustomed to these two parties, and it's like, okay, there's just a tiny bit in the middle that you can sway left or right. How do you intend to craft that message so that you can pull people from both parties to vote for you?
Sure. Well, I mentioned this in a meeting that I had yesterday in Richmond. Regardless of what people may think of of the founding fathers of the United States of America, one of the warnings that came through very loudly and very clearly from George Washington as he left Mount Vernon in 1796, he warned the American people that this two-party system that has endured for centuries, obviously, this two-party system will be an entry point for tyranny. He predicted that a two-party system so entrenched and so empowered would eventually lead to a rise of tyrants, because you have a system that breeds a tug of war. So you have two parties that are constantly going back and forth. There's a very good reason we have three branches in our government. There's a moderating force in that third element. So having independent voices come into the fray will help moderate the extreme elements that we see in the Democrat and the Republican sides. And so having an option that allows people to moderate, that allows people to break the logjam that oftentimes occurs between Democrats and Republicans, this volleyball effect, as you call it, would help, I think, create an opportunity to advance measures, to advance legislation and policy that best benefits the American people. When you bring somebody in that, I wouldn't necessarily say threatens the status quo, but helps stabilize the status quo, you have an opportunity to have real conversations. You can have individuals either in Congress or in the state houses that help bring people together, because they are operating in the middle of the road. They're not operating to the advantage of one party or the other. That person can serve as a broker, as an arbiter, as somebody who is seen as a moderating force, and somebody who is seen to work in the interests of the people, of the state, or of the country, rather than for or against a particular party. And that's what we're seeing all across the country. We're seeing, chief executives of state, of governors. We're seeing members of Congress who are more concerned about their political futures and working it to advance the agenda of their party versus advancing the agenda of the people they're supposed to be serving. And that's one of the reasons I think that my message will resonate. Once I break through, I'm seeing suppression of my content across all of the social media platforms. But once I make that breakthrough, I think that I will continue to resonate, not just with Virginians, but with people across the country who are looking for change.
And how tough is this? How tough is it for you?
Oh, it's every day. It's an uphill climb every single day. And the reason it's so tough is because I come in with several disadvantages, in the sense that I'm not a known quantity to most people. I've worked in the bowels of government, in national security, as a nameless and faceless person very often. And so that's already a difficult bat to swing, right? Because I don't come in with name recognition. I don't come in with millions of dollars. I'm not a multimillionaire, and I'm a person of modest means. And so I'm self-financing on the savings that I've accrued. And I don't have the backing of major corporations, dark money, oligarchs who would like to use me to do their bidding. So yes, you're absolutely right. This is a very difficult road ahead of me. But what I am very confident in is that when people see and hear my message, they realize that I am just like them. And my goal is to represent their interests and not the interests of a corporation that has an agenda to put forth, be it either in energy or in tech or some other area or industry. My goal would be to connect with every voter, eye to eye, face to face, and make sure that they realize that not only do I care about their issues, I understand the things that they've gone through because I've been there. I've been in a place where I've had to file for unemployment insurance, for instance, because I was wrongfully terminated from a government job. I have been in a place where I've wondered where my next rent check was going to come from, again, because I've been in situations where, sometimes things weren't easy. And when you're able to speak to people on that level, people understand that you are not a lofty person living in an ivory tower with lofty ideas and have no idea about how they live. When somebody looks at you and realizes that you know how they live, there's a whole different connection there. And I've been experiencing that on the campaign trail.
Thank you. And I was going to ask you about the money. You talk about it already. And because these oligarchs, these capitalists, right, they fund campaigns so that they can do their bidding. Mm-hmm. So let's say they give money to me this year. I went there and I'm independent minded. I'm no longer dancing to the beats of their drum. They're going to fund my opponent the following year, right? So right. So that's how it's been. So now, if there's no big money behind you, I mean, how are you trying to make it? And what's the history of anyone in Virginia, for that matter, who is preaching this kind of message that is coming from you being successful?
So you make a very good point that at the end of the day, money is what fuels campaigns in this country. But we have seen several instances where people who have dedicated and committed to focusing their campaign financing on small dollar donors, on individual donors, rather than on corporate funding, we have seen instances where people have been successful. So when you look at the likes of Bernie Sanders and AOC and others and even Zoran Mamdani, these people have been able to finance millions of dollars in campaign contributions, have been able to finance their campaigns at the millions of dollars because they were able to get a message to break through and resonate with people, with everyday people. And that is what I've been working toward every single day, is to ensure that my message resonates. I'm only a month and a half into the launch of my campaign officially. And I realize that I have some work to do. But when it comes to the history of Virginia, you're right. You'll see in recent years, more often than not, the leadership of the Commonwealth usually comes either from money or comes from a very strong corporate backing. But we have instances, and again, examples from all over the country where independent candidates have been able to make a breakthrough and be elected at the state level. We've seen it in Minnesota, we've seen it in Maine, we've seen it in Rhode Island, and the list goes on. So it's not a completely pie in the sky idea. It's not a fantasy to see an independent candidate who is not backed by corporate interests rise to the top and make a huge change. It's going to take a lot of work, but I'm all in for it.
Thank you. One reason I didn't start with this is we are not interviewing you because you have a librarian background or because of anything else. We take you as any other candidate. But people watching you will be interested, and you're going to inspire others if they know that your mom is from Liberia.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about your librarian rules as much as you want to share.
Sure.
Because, and what you are telling voters, both of Liberian descent, of African descent, and wherever they may come from.
Well, as many as you mentioned, as many people know, I do have roots in Liberia. I was born here in the United States, but my mother is Mary Bro. She served in various capacities in Liberia, and she's there now. She was a former mayor of Monrovia and also was a director general of GSA. And right now she's working to support the efforts of LEC to expand energy access throughout not just the capital, but all parts of Liberia. My mother is very well known. I always joke that if I were nearly as popular as my mom, I would have no problem with this campaign. Because my mother is very, very well known, at least in Liberia and throughout the diaspora community here as well. I owe everything to my mother, to her heart, for her love for me as her only child. As a disciplinarian, somebody who was very focused on making sure I had the best education she and my dad at the time could possibly afford. My mother was also very interested in me being well-rounded and ensure that I participated in extracurricular activities, everything from piano to cheerleading to dance to Girl Scouts to camping, and the list goes on. So my mother was and still is the most important champion and cheerleader in my life. And I owe everything to her, to her dedication to me, to how much she sacrificed to make sure that I had what I needed growing up. Again, we grew up modest means, but she did everything to prioritize me, my education, and my success in later years.
Thank you very much. As we conclude, I just want to hear your final message to voters.
Sure. One of the things I wanted to relay is that it is critical for people to consider the path that we're on and how the two-party system has led us down the path we're on today. My goal is to earn every vote as an independent for those people who might be considering an alternative to the two-party system, not just here in Virginia, but elsewhere. It's critical that I receive support from those who might be looking to support my campaign or to see me succeed. If you go to donnaforva.com, DONNAFORVA.com, you'll learn more about my platform, the issues that I've been talking to voters about, and you can go there to donate. You can also text 801-801 and enter Donna to donate. Small dollar donations, $3, $5 goes a very long way. But my goal is to earn your vote and to ensure that I provide an alternative for those who are looking for change.
Thank you very much, Donna.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And we're very proud of you and what you are doing.
Thank you.
And as we end the show again, thank you for coming. We wish you all the best in your campaign. And even though I'm not in Virginia, but but wish you all the best. Anything you want us to do?
Well, just make sure that people know that you don't have to be a resident of Virginia to contribute to my campaign. But your support means the world to me. Anybody out there who is interested in learning more can contact the campaign directly. If you go to the website and fill out the contact form, we'd be happy to engage. We're also looking for volunteers and for support in canvassing, door knocking, phone banking, and other areas where we can get the word out about my candidacy and my campaign and my goal to become the next governor of Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you. And let me announce that we're going to start another show. And so you see the guys that are already coming in. Mohammed, you want to say hi?
Hi, Mohammed. I think
Mohammed,
you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. How are you, Donna? How's the campaign? How's it going?
It's going. It's hard work, but we are making inroads. We are definitely diving deep and meeting a lot of people throughout the Commonwealth. So very much looking forward to ramping things up through the summer.
That's good.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Good luck, Donna. And
thank you for having me, Dennis.
You're welcome. At this time, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about President Boakai's visit to the U.S. and meeting with President Trump today. We'll be right back. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We want to say welcome to our second set or the second segment of the program tonight. We're going to be talking about President Boakai's visit to the U.S. and meeting with President Trump today. Before, as we wait for others to come in, we want to say welcome, invite a friend, share the show, and let's get started. Let me welcome Mr. Mohammed Sharif, is FOL political analyst, and he's the Waplo fellow, the Waplo Institute. Welcome, Mohammed.
Thank you. Say, wow, poor fellow. Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Let me also welcome the lawyer's daughter and the champ's mother, Glendy Jean Jr. Welcome, Glendy.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. Hello, Dennis. You see the time you got me here, right? That means
Right.
you're special.
Yeah, Glendy's I have worked very hard to be in this position. There is no doubt. When I was, and everything I do, I'm always at the top. When I was teaching, I was the best math teacher in West Africa. And now in business, I'm the best since the fall of the Mali Empire. So and that's why I attract good people like you. Thank you for coming. Let me welcome Anthony Russell Jr. Welcome, Anthony.
Dennis, thanks for being here and inviting me as well. And to my panelists, I'm grateful to be here.
We also want to welcome Mr. Anthony Konyene Freeman. Konyene will be joining us soon. In the meantime, let's listen to President Boakai.
Recent celebration of your 249th anniversary we did at Liberia at your embassy. Mr. President, we thank you for this opportunity to be here. Liberia is a longtime friend of the United States, and we believe in your policy of making.
All right. Where is Anthony Freeman? Before we even start. All right. So today, Mr. Anthony Freeman, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. I must have mistakenly clicked the wrong button.
Oh, okay. That's good. We are here now, and today President Boakai is in the U.S. and he's meeting President Trump. First of all, before we even get to today, I know yesterday we had a show, but what is your understanding of why President Boakai is here? Let me start with Mr. Russell.
That's a beautiful question. My understanding is that, as you can see in the short clip that you just played, what he talked about was he mentioned that we should reestablish our relationship with America, and he understands that Trump is trying to put America's first, which is very understanding. And then he goes on to talk about surveying our mineral rights.
We'll come to the speech. I just want to get your understanding of why President Boakai is here.
Why is he here? That's why I'm laying the ground now.
Okay.
to make you to understand. So he is there for America. America believes that he's there to accept migrants, right? Liberia and the president of the Republic of Liberia believe that they want to establish trade relationships with America. And that trade relationship will dive deeper into the natural resources of them surveying the country's natural resources. That's what the president of Liberia led with. He never talked about a migrant. Meanwhile, when they got to the office, when they got to the White House, the president talked about them being as a destination for migrants that are going to be dropped off in Africa since other countries that were supposed to be accepting the migrants, they're unable to do so, right? Either they're refusing for that plane to land in their country, or they're delaying the process of that. So now America is looking for a dumping ground. Meanwhile, our president saw this as as a relation, as a opportunity to establish trade relationships. And as you can see, the president of the Republic of America didn't even focus on his statement. What he mentioned was that, oh, you speak beautifully. He never focused on the details of what he said. He just mentioned that, oh, you speak beautiful English. Where did you learn that? After saying all those details, that was what the president of America got from what he said.
Thank you. Let's start from the president of America. You know,
Been pretty busy with us. Now it's Africa. First Europe, then the Middle East, now Africa. Great people with us. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being with us today. And I want to thank you, all of these great leaders, for joining us as we welcome. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being with us today. And I want to thank ministers and various other forums of great leaders. Presidents and prime ministers and various other forms of represented today. Dignitary continent is represented by this wonderful place. Is nothing like the White House to me. Liberia, we are Mauritania, represented today. All very vibrant places with very valuable land, great minerals, great oil deposits, and wonderful people. Last month, the U.S. Africa Business Summit had recorded an attendance record, actually, and generated $2.5 billion in new economic deals for the United States. On June 27th, the foreign ministers of the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda visited the White House to sign a historic peace agreement that we worked out. They've been fighting for 30 years. 7 million are dead. And they think the number is actually quite a bit higher than that. It's been a long and vicious fight, and I just wanted to say that the countries represented were very happy that we were able to solve that problem. I think over the next couple of weeks, the leaders of both countries will come to sign the final agreement. As you know, we had foreign ministers last week, but we're going to be signing an end to the horrible 30-year war. It's been going on for a long time. I've been reading about it, hearing about it, and it was a vicious war. It was a terrible war. I want to thank our outstanding senior advisor for Africa, Masad Boulos, for helping to mediate this breakthrough. He was very much involved in that settlement. Most people thought it couldn't be done, but there's still much more to be done, and we're going to be facilitating peace also in places like Sudan, where they have a lot of problems, Libya and others. We have there's a lot of anger on your continent, and we've been able to solve a lot of it. My administration is committed to strengthening our friendships in Africa through economic development efforts that benefit both the United States and our partners. And we're shifting from AID to trade. We had AID, or aid as we sometimes call it, right to trade, and trade seems to be a foundation that I've been able to settle a lot of these disputes, like as an example, India and Pakistan, Kosovo, Serbia. I said, you guys are going to fight, we're not going to trade. And we seem to be quite successful like as in doing that. To that end, we have Pakistan closed the USAID Kosovo, Serbia group to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. Going to fight, we're not going to trade. Tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. Seem to be quite successful.
You get his point. So here is President, and we're going to get to President Boakai's statement. But here is President Trump setting the stage and letting the people know why he has invited fellow Africans to the White House. Mr. Sharif, what do you make of President Trump's statement? You know, if you notice, he talked about, you know, their efforts on the continent, how they have settled disputes. He talked about, you know, you have oil, you have minerals. Where do you think President Trump is going with this? Why is he saying all this? What is he getting at here?
So let's maybe try to look understand the context within which this meeting is held. The backdrop cannot escape us. This is coming at a time, at an unprecedented time in American leadership, and the White House's effort to the flow of what the White House called illegal immigration. This is a centerpiece of Mr. Trump's. So he invites 5 African leaders, among whom is President Boakai. So the common denominator for all of these countries is you have to look at the fact that so you look at Gabon.
Mr. Sharif,
You look at Gabon.
We have a problem. Your phone is kind of breaking. I mean, your connection. All right, are you good?
Yeah, I think I am.
All right, go ahead.
If you can you hear?
Yeah, we having some problem there.
I'll go back. I'll go on and come back
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Let me go to Glendy. Glendy, earlier asked why you think this meeting is all about. The Wall Street Journal is reporting, and it said President Trump Wednesday met with leaders of 5 African countries. His administration was pushing them to accept migrants deported by the U.S. whose home countries refuse them or are slow to take them back, according to an internal document and current and former U.S. official. President Trump set the stage. What do you think is going with this thing?
I think it's hello everybody. It's good to be here. I think the synopsis there is that the Wall Street Journal is clear cut, and I think there are significant reasons now. Originally, we assumed that probably strengthening diplomatic relationships, looking at our mineral wealth, looking at other things, but now after the conference, we're getting some information, and that could be significant as to why Liberia is one of the countries, because Liberia is one of the countries that we are now hearing where we have a lot of people who have come over and have overstayed. So that could be a reason. But then Liberia is not the only country that have people. We're not only people here where we have people that may have overstayed or may not have the proper documents. There are other countries who have that. But I think as time goes on, we can clearly see there are more to the conference than we know. But the main focus of sending migrants to these 5 different African countries, I think this is what is surfacing now. And people are getting to know more that this is where it is going, because President Trump, utterly made mention about that.
Thank you. But from your reading of that meeting that went on, do you think that what President Trump was after, or the people who are claiming to get this inside scoop, maybe they are trying to read too much into it? What did you get from President Trump in that meeting today?
I think there is I can conclude that there's something that has to do with sending people back home, because it was in his basis of his spoken word. He talked about that. Okay. But he also, when you flip it on the other side, he also acknowledged that people synonymously, people should go home because your country is rich. They have things there. So why are they here? If you look at the message in its entirety, I think the piece of wanting to send migrants back to Africa is a significant portion of why our leaders were invited.
Anthony Freeman. And I want you to start first, and then later on I'm going to ask you about the legal framework of accepting migrants and all that different stuff. But for now, let's talk about, looking at just from what President Trump was saying in its entirety. What is your reading?
Well, I don't know. For me, what Trump wants is not very important.
Mhm.
I think what is important is what does Joseph Boakai want? And it doesn't seem like Joseph Boakai want anything specific because I mean, I got a lot of his people celebrating how he spoke good English. Trump's job is to seek the interest of America. From day one to day last, that's his job. What is the job of the Liberian president? What did he go there for? What did he put on the table? Okay, I think that for me, that's my concern. I don't want to believe for 1 second that Trump is going to call you for your benefit. If he's calling you, it's because he wants to get benefit out of you for America. That's my thinking on it.
And what do you think Trump won?
Oh, I believe maybe something to do with terrorism, and most likely something to do with the mass migration, because mind you, the president wants to reach the number of 1 million as he campaigns, and they are struggling to get that number. So, because there's a lot of protocol involved in like deporting somebody, you have to first take them through the legal process. He doesn't want to do that. So he's looking for a country like Liberia, like Venezuela, or places like not Venezuela, but what other country where he sent people?
Yeah, El Salvador.
El Salvador. Yeah, anybody who will tremble for a few $1 million, you're looking for countries like that. You know, so if you see countries like Guinea-Bissau, why doesn't Trump call Nigeria? Why doesn't he call South Africa, Morocco, Egypt? Those are the economic powerhouses. He said he wants to do deals, right?
Yeah.
So if he really wanted to do deals, you got Egypt, you got Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, Mozambique. Those are the economic powerhouses. He doesn't call any of them. He called Liberia that has nothing to sell, Guinea-Bissau that has nothing to sell, and tell them, hey, I want to do business. You know, you're great people. You know, you're very great. I want to do business with you. I mean, come on, you want to do business, go to Egypt, South Africa. So I don't want to believe that he's speaking the truth. And typically, these are politicians. They don't speak the truth. I don't want to believe that what he's saying is what he's mean. I believe it's either the deportation thing. He's looking for places to dump people, or maybe terrorism related thing. They're looking for a place to station troops, maybe something like that. But it's definitely not business, because if it were business, you would call the powerhouses of economics in Africa.
And Anthony Fremont, before I let you go, let's look at the legal framework here. Because if you are deporting people and you are not giving them a due process, and you even trying to get the backing of the Supreme Court to basically say you can do whatever, right? Before a country accept people, let's say there are international laws. Let's say if someone is being persecuted, or someone is being wrongly accused of something, I mean, you will not just accept that person, right? So if people are, let's say, kidnapping people and sending them to your country, I mean, how is that even legal or makes sense for any country? That makes sense. If
not legal.
People in Liberia, for instance, violate their rights, and then I tell Nigeria, I'm sending these people to you, or I tell Chevelu, I'm sending that. How does that make any legal or moral sense?
Oh, it doesn't make sense legally speaking in the US, and it also doesn't make sense legally speaking in America. But Trump is not counting on the legal sense. Firstly, he seems to have managed to silence the Congress, and the judiciary seems to be leaning his way. So he believes that he can get away with mopping off people and sending them out of the US without legal process. And if you come to Liberia, it's the same. You have to have due process. And between country to country, normally that due process will take you all the way to the Supreme Court before another country can technically accept where there is no appeal. Maybe if you do it at the federal appeal court level and there is no federal appeal, then Liberia can take that as a final judgment. Otherwise, we're talking about the U.S. Supreme Court before Liberia can accept, because countries, between country to country, we don't accept the judgment of intermediary courts, because another appeal court or the Supreme Court can overturn that decision. So they want only the final judgment, nothing like intermediary judgment. So quite frankly, a lot of the cases they're dealing with in the U.S. cannot go to Liberia now. But Trump is not counting on the legal process. He's counting on that Liberia is poor, and Guinea-Bissau and Gabon and all these countries, they are struggling, they are poor. They might tremble for a couple $100 million or whatever. And so, yeah, oh man, Liberia, I'll give you $50 million, you know, you can take these people back and stuff like that, like what they did in El Salvador. The legal thing is still going on, but they have already shipped the people back. And that is why sometimes I advocate a lot. Manage your country well. When you manage your country well, nobody will call you to tell you foolishness. Okay, there are countries in Africa that he could call too. Why didn't he call Botswana? Mauritius. Okay? He's not calling any of the well-governed country. He's not calling any of the economic giants. He's calling countries that he believes are struggling, and they will be open to his roughshod over the rule of law in his country, and he's trying to export that to other places.
Thank you. Mr. Sherry, why do these 5 countries, and I know you were in flight when you had a problem, but what I want to add there is, what do these countries have in common? Senegal, Mauritania, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, what do they have in common that make them palatable to President Trump's invitation? Yeah,
I hope my internet cooperates this time. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I was saying that, you know, these 5 countries, the common denominator is that they're all sitting along the coastal lines, right? So that's key. And one of the things that's going on, they're mostly in West Africa. Gabon is somewhat considered Central Africa. So it's interesting because our speculation is this has nothing to do with trades and stuff like that and the well-being of the people in the area. It has everything to do with the agenda of this administration. This Trump administration, central piece of this administration is the clamp down on illegal immigration and the deportation of illegal immigrants to third countries. And so Liberia, we speculate that Liberia is a reservoir, will be a reservoir for, you know, those undocumented illegal immigrants. And so that's where we're at. This is not the United States.
And Comrade Sharif, not even all of them are illegal immigrants, as we are learning. There are people, but they are green card. And hey, I have a friend in jail now for DUI. You know, he went to sign some paper and say, hey, give us urine. The test, they say, you're not supposed to drink. You have alcohol in your urine. They put it in jail. And those are the kind of people sometimes they deport.
A citizen was picked up the other day, although released, but however, the citizen was still arrested in one of the ISIS raids. So if our government acquiesces to this, this is dangerous. And I think that's where this discussion it's mainly focused on, but you know, to the outside world, it's been presented as, you know, the United States interest in trade. And you have these leaders sitting there, with the exception of Brice Oligui of Gabon, who delivered a brilliant remark. Everyone else is saying, you know, hey, our resources are out there for the taking. And Boakai is even saying, please go ahead, go survey, tell me what I have, you know, tell me where it is, and then we can start to negotiate whatever you want. Go and get it. I mean, this is where we are right now, Dennis. This is where we are right now. It's scary.
Glennie, why you don't want to hear that President Boakai said, you go check for yourself what you see there. We're gonna get to
your farm. Me going to your farm. You said, come, just go. You know, go there. I don't know what's there, but go find whatever. Okay.
All right. You may be exaggerating. I want to listen to President Boakai himself.
Recent celebration of your 249 anniversary we did at Liberia Embassy. Mr. President, we thank you for this opportunity to be here. Liberia is a longtime friend of the United States, and we believe in your policy of making America great again. And we also go a long way with you with in your diplomacy that has to do with economic development and commercial friendship. Liberia has a lot of minerals, and one of the things we asked as good friends for a long time is the opportunity to do a survey of our minerals. And also we are committed to peace, and we've been very lucky within our region. We are a country that have had a series of democratic elections, and our country has been cooling down. And also we want to encourage American involvement in the investment in Liberia. We'd like to see that happen. We want to work with the United States in peace and security within the region, because we are committed to that. And we just want to thank you so much for this opportunity.
All right. And I'm saving President Trump's response for later, because that's what people are dwelling on a lot. Mr. Russell, let's look at President Boakai's short statement.
So, like I stated in my initial statement when you asked me the question, I said you can see that Boakai's focus is on our resources, our natural resources being surveyed. Boakai did not address anything that was immigration related about the 5 countries that America is trying to push to accept, migrants. Nah. He is opening his arms to tell America, hey, come into our land, survey us out here, and be able to, let us know on a friendly deal. But my question to Joseph Boakai is that he recently had a speech, a State of a Nation address, in January, and all the panelists on this show can confirm that he stated that China surveyed our natural resources, and he stated that the resources that they have found, right? He stated those things. He stated very important resources like, copper, amongst, rubber, called coltan, all these resources that, you can find in places like Congo. Then he's telling America again to come and survey. Survey for what? On a friendly deal? Do you know what America is going to do or ask for when they found out that we have, important resources that they need to develop certain technological equipment? Do you know what that means for Liberia? Are we not learning from what happened at Firestone? We can't get the current concession deals, we can't get that underneath our own control. We have Accelermental Liberia that's actually proposing a 30% cut down due to 15%, and we're asking America to survey more of our resources for what? When the current concession that exists, we don't know what to do with them. What is it that we're going to do with these new concession deals? If America surveys and say, okay, we allow, we're ready to go into another agreement or concession deal with Liberia, what does that mean for the common Liberian people? I think the president should stop joking us. We should stop.
Thank you.
And just to end on this, we are wasting too much resources bringing our president and government officials then to other countries, and they're going back to Liberia with nothing. and they were being celebrated as champions. I'll end on that note.
Glendy, almost all of the presidents who spoke, they're telling President Trump, we have minerals. I mean, I think it was Mauritania. He said, we have minerals. We have manganese, uranium, lithium, and others, iron ore, our water, our fish. And what is that all about?
So I guess everybody was trying to sell their own country. And it makes me wonder as to whether they knew ahead of time that this conference, because the news that are surfacing now, it makes me wonder whether the presidents that were there, whether they had any information that President Trump will be talking about migrants. Because everybody came to say, because I guess knowing Donald Trump, President Trump, and knowing that he's a businessman, everybody would think, oh, let me just promote that I have the best resources that the best minerals. Let me promote my country in that way. When that was probably a very small portion of what President Trump talked about. So I guess everybody wants a better country, a better African country. And so what do we have best? We have minerals. So let's sell that. And I think that's what
if you are selling something, because they said that we don't have place to sell our minerals, or they want, I mean, what exactly when President Boakai or the president of Mauritania say we have minerals, is he saying come and buy or come and explore or come and bring your company to?
He may be saying bring your company to invest in us. I mean, who does not want America to invest in their country, Dennis? You can have America versus Nigeria. You're going to want to go to America. You can have America versus maybe Great Britain. Which African country will not want to get, first and foremost, some form of recognition from America?
So we have Firestone. We just signed HPX, even though, and Konyene can speak to that later, they have to go through our legislature, but say the president signed that for HP, and this HPX thing has been hanging for a long time. Right, that's an American company. He just signed it, and he's here. And we've had Firestone forever. I don't know.
People still.
So what is it that when they say we have minerals, what are they saying?
We have minerals. Come and see what we have. Come, let's do business. Maybe you can open companies. Maybe you can bring companies that'll dig up the gold and diamond. Maybe you can come and get them and purchase it. It could mean anything. It means that this is what I have. You either come and help me to develop it, or you come and purchase it from me. It could be anything. Anything that's going to give them the recognition and the assistance that they need as a country. In my thought process was probably what they were saying, because every one of them, that was what they were promoting first and foremost.
Because if you want to sell something, just saying I have.
I don't know if I can clarify something on that.
Be aware of it, you know. It's not
to say I have mineral is enough. But if you say, this is what I want, but can you go ahead? I mean, I don't get that message.
That is, let's separate development assistance, bilateral assistance from private sector business venture, because we mix it up all the time and it's wrong. When you come to America and you're talking with the president, most likely is maybe public-private partnership, bilateral aid, or multilateral aid, since America has a dominant role in all these international financial institutions. Private sector investment is a whole different ball game. The American president is not even in a position to tell private sector investor which country to go to, much less how much to spend. So it's a misconception to go to the White House and tell them, I have minerals, let's see how we can develop it, because President Trump is not in a position to do that. Whether to call a private sector actor and say, go to Liberia. Even if you tell them to go, they are going to look at the cost of investments. They are going to look at the return on the investment. They are going to look at the security on the investment. They are going to look at opportunities for litigation.
But Anthony Fremont, this is how the Americans have been behaving, right? Take, for instance, Iraq, when they had the oil after the war, right? They want American companies to go there. So Dick Cheney and all these people had their companies go. So it is not far-fetched to let the president know, because they also have interests of sending American companies. And that's why they always want to, in fact, when they went to Ukraine now and say, hey, they got oil, it doesn't mean that America as a government is going to go there and dig the oil. It will be American companies.
So the point is, at the end of the day, the statement is still meaningless because, for example, under Liberian law, you are supposed to have international competitive bidding. And you are supposed to have national competitive bidding. So even if Trump promised you that some American company is coming there, it's not going to work necessarily, because you are going to have international competitive bidding. And if you do away with it, that will be corruption. So the dictionary thing you talk about was one of the corruption that occurred and even fell afoul of the American Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which forbids corruption in American seeking businesses abroad. So what I want Liberian people to understand, separate development assistance from private sector investment. You can get private sector investment without even going to the White House. You can list on you can list, for example, Euro bonds. You can get money coming in. You can list or on New York Stock Exchange. You can get money coming in. You can have your own investment forum. You can invite people. Concentrate on something, because when you go to America, maybe you want something for the World Bank and they are in a position to twist the World Bank to do it for you. Or you want something from the IMF, they are able to Armstrong the IMF and do it for you. Those are what you can get from the American president. You are not going to get private sector investment just by American president dictating, because he is not in a position to dictate to the private sector where they should go and how they should invest. Their ability to make profit, their ability to break even and have return on the investment early, the protection for the investment, the ability to recover from litigation, or the guarantee that the state will not seize the investment. Those are issues that the private sector actor will look at in order to go in the country, not the word of the American president.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif, President Boakai started with saying our long-time friendship with the USA. That's the chorus or our national anthem.
Right.
We have been your friends for a long time. He said that.
Right.
He made mention of make America great again. Okay. And he talked about President Trump diplomacy when it comes to economic and commercial. So and then right after that, he said we have minerals. Right. So if you take a piece of what just Kanye said, if you go to the White House and say, I have minerals, in essence, what is President Boakai saying to President Trump? Because this is the White House. This is not a mineral company.
Yeah. What President Boakai is saying to the President of the United States, because keep in mind, the President of the United States has a big podium. He has a megaphone through which he speaks to the American people. So the Liberian president coming in saying, I have minerals. I agree with your. First of all, I don't know how Liberia is agreeing with Make America Great Again. What good is that for Liberia? What good is that for people sitting in Kakata right now and in Sanikoli right now? What good does that do for them? So he pivots from that and say, I have minerals. As Anthony Freeman said, in America, when you do those things, when you say those things, Trump is not going to lead the American government and say, okay, you have minerals, here's the money, give me your minerals. It doesn't work that way. These are private investors that are going to go over there. They are looking at several things. They're looking at issues. They're looking at security. They're looking at law and order. They're looking at your judicial system, your justice system, how strong it is. They're looking at the environment. Is it conducive to investment? He said it, Anthony Freeman said, are they going to get return on that investment? what they're not in business. These capitalists are not in business. They're not philanthropists. They're there. They're blood suckers. So they're gonna go in, get your resources for the cheapest dollar. Some of them, they don't even pay. I mean, they steal your resources and bring it back here and make profits. That's what they're in business for. So you go into the White House to announce this to the man who has the biggest megaphone. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's the private sector, people in the private sector. Dennis, if you're a billionaire, you want to take a chunk at, stuff going on in Calipo right now. People, they're stealing our minerals over there. You go and get your company to work over there, right? You invest over there. You invest in places.
Let me interject, right? Because you know this one better than I do. Firestone, right? I mean, Firestone is a private company, but look at the government involvement, right? So just look at Firestone. And when President Boakai was speaking, I said, I wonder if he read anything about Firestone, right? So if you look at Firestone, are you saying government was not part of it?
Government was heavily involved
Exactly.
with Firestone. You also have to understand at the time of Firestone, what period are we talking about? We're talking about period right after the Second World War, on the eve of the Great Depression in the United States. So the government,
the First World War, not second.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry about that. The First World War and pushing on towards the Second World War. We're talking about a period around the Great Depression. So the president, the United States government, is doing everything possible everywhere that they can find the resources and different things like that to rebuild the economy, because at some point the American economy was in tatters. And so government involvement with Firestone, first of all, when you look at what happened at that time, especially 39 to 45, during the Second World War, Firestone became a major supplier of rubber. So yes, the government has to be involved, and this is because of national security. I mean, it was mostly national. Some of this was national security. So yes, the government, the United States government, was heavily involved when it came to Firestone. Now, what does Liberia have at this time? Liberia does, Liberia does not have oil, right? Which is much needed in the United States. Gabon has oil, and I was very surprised that the new president of Gabon, who took over as a military leader, Brice Oligui, who he delivered a brilliant address. I mean, he basically said that yes, we have these things, yes, but it's also about partnership. He is not giving these things away. He's not saying I'm giving these things away. Everyone else seemed to be saying, well, come and get it. When it came to our president, it was like, go do your survey, see your surveyors, go do your survey, and then we would start to negotiate. I mean, so that's basically where we are with that,
So in that statement, Glennie, what does President Boakai want? We know President Trump wants a lot of things. Based on what you heard from President Boakai, what does he want?
I mean, what what a question, Dennis. What would President Boakai not want? Of course he wants aid. Of course he wants America to assist our country. Of course he wants recognition. Of course he wants.
He didn't say it though.
He didn't have to say it.
Okay.
And I think what he didn't. I don't think he had to say. I think the statement he made was profound enough to say to you, if you and I have been friends for 20 years, and I say to you, Dennis, you are my long-term friend, I am interjecting in another way that there should be some benefits in this friendship. I think what President Boakai said was precise and was enough. The only issue I had is that Make America Great, because I'm not a fan, of course.
No,
But
he going to say, let's make Liberia great. You know,
no, but this is the thing. I don't think that statement, because I spoke to a few people, and I don't think that statement was in direct quotation to what President Trump says. I think President Boakai was trying, but did not explain it eloquently in that segment, to say that just like you want America to be great, we support that. Like we will want our country to be great. I don't think President Boakai was saying that he supports Trump saying make America great, because make America great comes to a lot of other things that's connected with it. I think he was saying, yes, we recognize that you want your country to be better, and I also want Liberia to be better. That's how I understood it, but I don't think President Boakai had enough time to explain it in that sense. But I doubt if President Boakai was promoting the "Make America Great" slogan. I don't want to believe that.
Right. Because, but do you believe that "Make America Great" means make other countries not great, make other countries poor?
Of course.
Right.
But do you want Liberia to be poor?
But
no.
Then it's just a point.
Should you not want better for Liberia?
Then it's just a point. Boakai does have a slogan, right?
I agree with you.
You can want to make, hold on, Dennis. You can want to make Liberia great and make Liberia better without wanting other countries to suffer.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think President Boakai meant that the same way you want.
Yes, I think that's what he meant. I don't think he meant.
So
I don't think he was.
I will give it to him.
Yeah.
And President Trump loved, flattery. So
I beg to differ, Dennis.
But we know that you were different on that.
The president, look, I mean, first thing, the president has his own slogan. Think Liberia, love Liberia, build Liberia. And with all the good grammar that he has, I can imagine, why wouldn't he just say what he believes in, why he advocated for? Secondly, if the man is shown to be a grammarian, how come he is not able to articulate his own vision on the world stage? And now we got to be here second guessing what he wanted to say. Is he a kindergarten student or what?
I don't think we're going to go to that extent. That's being. I mean, I don't think that's the extent we should go to. If you don't want to interpret how that is, that's on you. However you want to understand it, that doesn't mean that you can. Dennis is. I've never been an instructor, so Dennis can be a teacher. Where there will be a way that he may want to present certain things at a certain time, and he may do it another way. That doesn't mean that Dennis is not a great teacher. That doesn't mean that he wasn't eloquent. What I understood, and I want to give it to President Boakai, knowing President Boakai, I doubt if President Boakai was promoting that "Make America Great" statement as President Trump does.
Thank you.
Where is the Minister of Information? Where is
the minute is on closing argument.
Okay, but where are all these media agencies that he has employed?
I mean, Clive Reloader.
Where is Clive Reloader to clarify his statement now?
The minister had a press conference yesterday. Mika yesterday, and he was like going to you're here, you didn't do this. Now you're giving your sanction here. I mean, this is so petty. Are you going to really use President Weah administration as your yardstick?
Right.
Or are you going to at least compare yourself with President Shirley if you want to be on the truth point? But that's another story. But my question now is, let's get to the second part of President President Trump response.
Just before you go, Mr. Dennis, I got one point to make. So everyone here is saying what I mean. I agree with Attorney Freeman with him saying that America doesn't have the power to go ahead and tell private companies, right? I agree with that. But
Trump does.
Of course, yeah. Do you know the requirements or the requirements or the listing that the president of Liberia gave to Trump as to why they should invest in Liberia or why they should come and explore? These were the three things he mentioned. We got natural resources. We have peace. He mentioned we have peace. So he said, look around our country in our regions, right? We have countries that are going through elections. They are turning over power successfully. Then he talks about security. But when you look deep down to Liberia, what does that really mean?
We have peace.
We have peace. Peace for who?
We had 3 elections. We've had 3 presidents with peace.
Peace for who?
Hold on,
The people that ain't Bon County, the people that ain't Bon County, I'm not sure if they have peace. The people that ain't Lofa County, I'm not sure if they have peace.
There's no war.
The Capitol building just got burned.
That doesn't mean that peace exists.
The Capitol building just got burned.
That doesn't mean that there's no peace. There's nobody shooting. There's no war.
But Boakai trying to sell Liberia on this pedestal of peace and security. We're willing to cooperate with you in peace and security as you exploit our resources, as you come into partnership with us. What is that saying to the Liberian people? Are they agreeing with what he's saying?
Right. I think that was just a short statement. Behind closed door, President Boakai will talk more. But let's hear from President Trump.
No. We heard him say.
Yeah, but we heard him saying what he said was the truth, though. Wasn't the lying.
Let's hear from President Trump his response to the statement made by our president.
Thank you. It's such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. It's beautiful English.
Sure.
I have people at this table can't speak nearly as well, and they come from.
All right, and this is what is making the headlines today. But let me tell you, Mr. Sherry, you have worked many places in America. Glendy as well. Have you not heard this from ignorant Americans asking you the same question over and over?
Countless.
Right. How is this? How is this? Is this different? People. And what do you normally say as they ask you over and oh, you speak English? Oh, where you learn English? The same question over and over. What has been your response? Has they asked you over and over many times?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I have heard worse. I have heard, do you guys have houses over there? Do you guys have cars? Same things that we have here. From ignorant people, average people, just basically ignorant. But the response also has not been pretty. So,
your response.
My responses have ranged from that's very ignorant to you need to travel more. You live in a closed society, it looks like.
When you say you're not being pretty, I thought you were going to stare anybody in my mind. Hope you didn't say that. Right. But getting to that, what people are criticizing President Boakai for not maybe telling him you are ignorant or saying something like that. I thought President Boakai gave the best response. You don't think so?
What was his response? His response is to go along.
Nothing. It's like what else can I tell this man in 2 seconds? Let me just let him go with his ignorance.
It's condescending. This is the leader of a country. He's a leader. Never mind, he's in the United States at the White House, sitting around the White House table with Trump, who has.
What do you say to a public ignorance statement like that?
So that
open a third grade book.
Look, this thing. Do you know this was just on CNN before we came on air?
It's everywhere.
Jake Tapper have issues with it. So Dennis, I hope you do as well. Jake Tapper had issue with the president of the United States questioning the president of Liberia about where he learned how to speak English. This is what you tell this is what you tell people, tell a 5-year-old or maybe a 10-year-old. You don't do this to the president of the Republic of Liberia. This is nonsense. And then somehow you have these, diehard supporters of the Unity Party, justifying this nonsense. This is condescending. and it borders around, racism.
Just conclude. So what President Boakai is supposed to do?
So if I were Mr. Boakai, excuse me, Mr. President, have you prior to this meeting, did you probably read up on Liberia?
You're not getting so, Bill.
Did you read up on Liberia? I'm sorry. Look, to be able to be a great leader, if he says something along those lines, maybe not quoting me verbatim, we will be talking about the greatness of Boakai right now in that moment. Sometimes,
and then you lose the trade deal.
Sometimes, Dennis, sometimes the moment meets you where you are at. Sometimes in the moment, you have to rise up and be great in the moment. Some people fold in the moment, and he folded in that moment.
Thank you. We clearly see, Anthony, that this was an ignorant statement from President Trump. At least before you meet people, even before we go do a job interview, at least you read about the company a little bit. President Trump, if you are listening, who have seen Liberian president addressing the United Nations many times, you have seen at least Google, why focus on Liberia for a minute?
He knows it. Trust me, he does. He does.
You see, the thing with us Liberians is that we accept mediocrity. And that's why you'll see UP people there championing this as one of the greatest compliments that a Liberian president have ever received. I'm on Facebook currently going back and forth trying to make people to understand that this is a backhand compliment. In the same breath that you give,
it's really not a compliment. I understand that.
Even if it is, right? Why are you going down the line to say you're sitting amongst people who you speak better English than? There are other people that are across from Donald Trump that look at a country like Senegal. Do they speak English over there? No, they don't. So why is he particularly outing the president and saying that you speak beautiful English? Where did you learn that? Does he not know about Liberia? Is it the country that our president is trying to sell him on and say, come to our country when someone don't even fully know what it is that you speak? How you expect them to do business with you? They don't even know your language. They don't even know what you're teaching there. So why again are we going to beg people that don't even know, they're not even educated about us? They are downplaying us in the same sentence that they are also trying to say that they're uplifting the language that we.
What I'm getting at here, I want you to respond to is: does this show more of Trump's ignorance or President Boakai being timid?
I think it
exactly.
shows both. Dennis, I'm sorry. Let me conclude. It shows both, because there should be no way why our president Boakai didn't even move a muscle, and he didn't, I'm not gonna say stand up, but this is how low we have to come in order for us to beg and get things. In order for we have to really put we have to kneel down to beg a country like United States why they are disrespecting us.
Dennis, let me come in there.
I want to go to Glendale first because diplomat. We're looking at diplomacy.
What I'm saying is closer to what Russia said,
and that's why I want to hear Glendale's view first because you agree.
But he can go ahead since whatever he needs to say is much more important. Let me go ahead. I'll still have my say. No, let him go ahead. Let Anthony go ahead.
Okay.
I will still say. Because at least he's already said that it's closer. Because what he's going to say, I'm not going to say.
Hold on, Glenn, you say you should go ahead.
Yeah, let him go.
Yes.
Yeah. And the reason why I want to come here is because I want to buttress what Dennis said and what Russell said. I think it is timidity that he found himself before the president of the United States, a white man. And so this man tells you, oh, by the way, you speak good English. But mind you, you are in the midst of a Portuguese-speaking president, a Wolof-speaking president, French-speaking people, and he's telling you to speak good English. This is an opportunity for you to give him some historical, because Boakai is quote-unquote an elder statesman. So it is an opportunity for him to educate Trump. Oh, but Mr. Trump, by the way, don't you know that it was free American slaves that went to Liberia and founded Liberia, and Liberia has had English as its official language since 1820. It was an opportunity, but Boakai was trembling where he is because he was sitting before a white president, and he was not able to provide a teaching moment. And I think that what he could have done, but he didn't do it. And I'm not very surprised because, I mean, that's who Boakai is. All the while, we just trying to make him into a man, but Boakai has never been a man. Boakai has been a boy.
Thank you. Glendy, you know, back home, and I'm not saying President Trump is a, but you know, is a fool. But what people used to say to ignore a fool is a big disgrace. So if somebody make an ignorant statement, sometimes to ignore that, you know, it speaks more. Is that what President Boakai was doing here?
So let me just say, everybody on here have their own views. I certainly don't share the views that President Boakai is a boy. I don't share the view that he was timid. Everyone is speaking their own view. I think the comments that some of the comments we're making is even more condescending than what President Trump did to our president of Liberia, and I detest that. So let me just say, Dennis, I disagree with what everyone has said here. Everyone. It's easier said than done. We will say we want Boakai to probably get into a rage and cuss Trump out. Until you get to that spot and you would have been able to do it, you can't come and ask President Boakai to have said that. So I understand the comment was out of place from President Trump, but we expect that President Trump should know better. But this is President Trump we are talking about, that everyone knows that whether he is told, whether he has the knowledge, whether he was educated, whether his mother was born in Liberia, when he gets on a platform, he's going to say whatever he wants to say. That's President Trump. And not a single one of us here will deny that about who President Trump is. He is not going to care. The people say, too, you know what, about what he needs to say, whether correctly or not. Trump will be Trump. Did President Boakai address him correctly? Yes. In my opinion, in my name, I think his response was appropriate. I don't think President Boakai had any turnaround time to use that opportunity to say, oh, Liberia was founded in 1847 or 1827 by free slaves. The issue here right now is what this discourse has done today has now turned it on to Trump and his foreign people. The people who work, like the foreign minister, whoever, is turning on them because everyone is talking about this conversation. I think the condescending statement was after he spoke to Trump to not refer to other African leaders as not knowing a lot about, not knowing English. When those people came from non-English speaking country, I think that's where the condescending comment was. Not to the fact that he acknowledged that Boakai spoke English, because regardless, even if Boakai spoke broken English, Trump was going to be Trump by saying some of you here, you don't know how to speak English, regardless. So I don't think President Boakai was timid. I think his response was diplomatic, like he is. I don't think he's someone that's going to be fighting like some kind of crewman going to say, why are you saying that thing for?
Whoa.
What's a crew? I don't think he would have done that. I think his response was appropriate for me.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing President Boakai's meeting with President Trump. And if you want to be a part of the conversation, please call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. And overall, now the news that came up is say, well, President Trump is negotiating for where to send people that he's deporting, people that the U.S. government. I mean, the press secretary, they call these monsters, dangerous criminals, and all that, right? So, and we don't know who these people are. They could be people as harmless and law-abiding like you and myself. They could be actual gang members. They could be terrorists. They could be anything. We don't know. I mean, let's talk about that briefly. If really that's what this is all about. Okay. how do we really approach this? That someone is trying to you know violate people's right, don't give them due process, and some of them have been, somebody said, kidnapped. Some of them have really been kidnapped. We came from a country of a lot of war. I was internally displaced many times in Liberia. I was a refugee in Guinea, in the Ivory Coast, in Nigeria, in Ghana. So I know what it is. I know what it means to suffer persecution and suffer because of, or so if people rights are being violated, just like my right was violated, and they are saying, in fact, we are not going to send you to your country. We are going to send you somewhere where, there is, because if I look at first South Sudan, if you are sending people to South Sudan, and then the next in line is Liberia, I'm going to say, wait a minute, what are you telling me?
Well, Liberia, our president went to the White House and he told the president of the Republic of America that Liberia is a peaceful nation, and we just joined. Newsflash: we just joined the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member, right? So we are a secure nation now, right? We are a secure nation. We operating in a peaceful environment. There's no war. So I think now Trump is saying, you know what? Let me test that. So I'm allowed. Our president has now put our hands out and said that we are a peaceful, secure nation. So we should be allowed to now accept migrants who the United States are having difficulty trying to agree with their actual home countries.
Hmm. So let's. I want this is where I want us to conclude before we get our colors, right? So this is within many people predicting that the United States is going to be a minority. White people are going to be in a minority, and so they're doing everything that some of the things people are saying to deport people that are not white, so that at least they can slow down the time it takes. So there are a whole lot of things, and these are not new. Some of these things have been in the plans for years, and now probably they were looking for somebody like this to implement them. So looking within the grand scheme of things, how should we respond to the whole idea of deporting quote unquote violent criminals to Liberia, people that are not from Liberia? How do we really respond to this such a thing? Let me start with you, Glendy. If that was the case, that they want to deport people that the U.S. government deemed as violent criminals, all the troubles in this country they caused by violent criminals they killed. Remember when President Trump first campaigned, he said, they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crimes, and all this. These are the kind of people that he's sending to Liberia. What should we do?
That's an extreme hypothetical. Extreme.
What is the extreme?
I would like to correct you.
Hold on. I want to understand what is the extreme.
When you're saying hardened criminals, not everybody who.
Not everyone.
I'm not saying everyone. I'm saying we don't know them. They could be terrorists.
They could. Okay, that's a cool.
Yeah, we don't know them but the United States, according to when you heard when they are sending them, right? He said these monsters, we got to get them out.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they describe the United States government. The United States government deemed them as criminals, dangerous criminals. You've seen the press conferences.
Yeah, but the monsters go even me. Our president here, the way sometimes he describes, he could be describing me. He could never be describing anybody. That's him. He uses alarming words. But suffice it to say that I would hope that there would be some diplomatic discussions. I would hope there would be some understanding, because I would hope that Liberia would not just go and agree and say, okay, if we have hardened criminals, send them to our country. We're waiting for them to come and migrate there. I hope there would be some channel. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the different treaties says and all those things. I don't know. But I hope that there would be some form of dialogue and conversation on who will be allowed to come to the country if that's the decision of the government, and who will not be allowed to come to the country.
But Glenn, they are not sending them to live as free people. They are sending them to jail.
So we don't know that, Dennis.
Now they will. They've established. I think they established. What country it was in Africa? They established a camp out there where they send people. And they're actually.
But that's not Liberia, though.
It's not, but it's a possibility that they're going to be in jail.
Okay, let's use El Salvador for instance.
Out in El Salvador, you see all these countries that they're sending them out to. They're being kept in cages.
Right.
Detainees, yeah.
And even here, they said they are going to create a place where even coming from there, they're going to be wild animals, right? I mean, you heard that.
I would still think there would be some form of conversation, dialogue, because there has to be tracking. You also don't want to come and infuse criminals into our Liberian society when we ourselves need some form of help with what we have now.
So what would Boakai do if he was asked by President Trump?
So they have to discuss it. I don't think he should say yes. I don't think he should just say
what
yes.
Should he say?
Send them.
What should he say?
So what would be the circumstances? What is going to do? How are these people? What is the security system? Who's going to be guiding these people? Where are we going to keep them? There's so many factors that's going to come into play that will have to be discussed and agreed upon forefront than saying just because if you send them, where are you going to keep them? Central Basin? Where is the place? Bella Yala, is it in existence?
South Beach.
South Beach. So there are things that have to come into play before you can say.
But should that even be a discussion around that?
Do you have a choice? If you're a member of UN, do you have a choice if America is your friend? And if they're asking you, if you think you can stand on your own and say, oh, we're not going to do it, then do it. What room do you have? How much room?
There's not through UN, though. Anthony, what should Liberia do? If they were asked, if President Boakai was asked to accept these people that the U.S. deemed dangerous criminals?
I think that Liberia should further analyze this situation, like Ms. Glendy was saying. You have to understand that Liberia does not have the capacity right now to take in anyone who's a migrant, who you yourself is being, you're deeming these people as violent criminals. You're putting all these harsh titles on them. Why should we take them? But again, if we're saying no to that, we all know President Trump. He's going to backfire and says, hey, man, your English is your English is not beautiful anymore. I could barely understand what you were saying. And I think that we should withdraw all our aid and our support from you, and we'll make things harder for you, right? These are the circumstances that Liberia should be willing to experience if Boakai says no. But if he doesn't say no, then we'll go down that route of being receptive of these people. Now we're going to have to now build in systems to taking these people, and knowing America and knowing about the camps that are being built out in countries like El Salvador. You can see the conditions of these camps. There's another camp that's being built currently. I guess it's in Texas called Alligator Alcatraz. Yes. Look at the living condition of these places that they're building. Is that somewhere that you can put down in Monrovia and restrict it and put security officials there to be able to maintain and guide these places? My answer to that question will be no. So I think that this is a trap that we have gotten ourselves into, and we should get out as fast as we can.
Thank you, Anthony Freeman. My question to you is, first of all, most of the people that are being shipped, their rights are being violated. Should we even have a talk along those lines that, yes, you can violate people's rights, send them to me? You don't give people due process, but bring them to me. Meanwhile, United States will not do that. You can't do that to any United States citizen.
Yeah, even when they send their soldiers to war and the soldiers commit war crimes, you still can't try the soldiers. But look, Dennis, you want me to say about Trump? I don't really care what Trump says. I care what the President Boakai says. I care what the Liberia National Legislature says. I care what the people of Liberia says. So it's good for Trump. Trump is rounding up people he doesn't want in America, and he's looking for places to dump them.
Yeah.
If you decide you want to be that dump site, if you gotta decide as a country, yes, I want to be the dump site for America. Okay, you can decide that. You can also say no. I keep saying to Liberians, the amount of money stolen in Liberia is enough to develop Liberia. We steal that money, we waste it, then we go abroad and we beg. How much Trump is going to give? He's going to spend maybe build a 50 billion facility, 100 million facility. Maybe he's going to employ 100 Liberians. I mean, how much is that? Okay, that money alone was more than what John Weah stole. Okay, Boakai is on track to surpass John Weah in terms of stealing. Okay, Boakai has spent 28 million on security covert operation from NSA in less than 2 years. So you gotta decide what you want for your country. It's good for Trump. He's looking for a place to dump people that he don't want in America. You gotta decide, okay, yeah, I want my country to be the dump site. Or you can decide, no, I don't want my country to be a dump site. It's a choice for you.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif, what should President Boakai do if you were asked?
President Boakai should be able to say no. Should say no, protect the sovereignty of Liberia, protect human rights, protect the values for which he campaigned. Unfortunately, that value has since been undermined by the president himself with the violent takeover of the position of Speaker of the House of Representatives, with the arrest of political incarceration of political prisoners. So I have no confidence that this president is not going to acquiesce. He is going to acquiesce, I should say, to the Trump administration. That's what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do. So
why you think so?
Because I think that the surrender you saw today in the brief speech,
Come on, man. How you call that surrender?
Most of them.
It's just diplomacy at work.
Most of them, Dennis, they come in with hats in hand. I have the minerals. Come and get them. I have what you need. Come and get them. Right? So the next set of discussion, what we saw out there was about trade and, superficially the well-being of the African people. But what's going to be discussed inside the room, in the back room, we suspect, is using these countries as dumping grounds. And I don't, necessarily, the president of the United States, first of all, is doing what he campaigned on, right? I'm done talking about that. He campaigned on a set of things that he was going to do, and the American people elected him. So he's doing exactly what he campaigned on. The issue is African leaders who did not campaign on this, who did not tell their people that they were going to use their country as dumping ground, are they now going to go back to their people in the villages, in the towns and cities to say, I'm bringing new strangers, I'm bringing new people into your homes, into your villages, because you're not going to perpetually encamp these people. They're going to have to go out there. They're going to have to go out there. At some point, you're going to have to integrate these people into the larger Liberian society. You're not going to encamp them. You're not going to put them in some enclosure as if they're not human beings. They are human beings. So you're going to have to release them into the community at some point in time. So Boakai has the duty to go back home and explain this, if this is what this meeting is going to be about.
Can I just make a quick point? I'm not sure if any one of the panelists can remember, but a while ago, Trump called African countries what? These are the same African countries that he's asking to send. We're quick to forget it.
How can we forget Trump? Who has forgotten him?
But Trump literally called African countries,
Nobody can
now,
forget it,
and
bro.
now he wants to dump these violent migrants. So it goes well in here with his policy making that he signed up for, that America voted him for. So I'm not surprised that he's using a country like Liberia and other African countries, West African countries, as a dumping ground. It goes well in playing with his mindset, how he thinks, how he's going to make America great again, all these things. So I'm not surprised we the ones that have to say no to these things.
Think about it. Think about the problems that we have now. We have Chinese who are rooting out the minerals from underneath the earth. Basically looting these minerals. The people in Kilipo, the people everywhere in Jagakin and all these places are still dirt poor because of the fact that these leaders, the elite, are in constant collusion with these thieves. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter if they came from the West. It doesn't matter if they came from the East. It doesn't matter if they come from Asia or someplace else, right? Or the Middle East or someplace else. What they're doing to us is that they are robbing our future. They're robbing our children's and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren's future from underneath their feet. And these leaders are culpable. These leaders are corrupt and incompetent and incapable of protecting their own countries. That's what we should be talking about. That's one of the things, Dennis, we should be talking about. So a confluence of all of these things is a headache already. So you have that going on, and then you're going to add the deportees to that. This is a real bad time for Liberia and Africa. So the challenge is, can African leaders stand up to this? Can people like Boakai now stand up? That's why I have concerns about this lackadaisical attitude, and people are supporting this. I mean, you have this inferiority complex. People with inferiority complex usually are do-nothings. They're do-nothings. You do nothing because you have inferiority complex. Oh, you speak good English. Sir. Thank you, sir. You speak.
Dennis, just a quick point.
Hold on. I want to ask you on some legal framework, but as I was saying, there are some people who want to see us in Potter. They want to screw our light bulb and run away. They want to off our candle. What will President Boakai do in the face of those who want to eat us on Lelo? Mr. Freeman, even let's say if President Boakai will accept, what would the legal framework be? What would be the involvement of our legislature? What would the process look like?
I think it will be very complicated because right in the US, Mr. Trump is being told that he's violating the rights of those people. They say it's not because you are migrant or non-US citizen. Everybody in the US is entitled to the due process of law. So if you as a country join with Mr. Trump in order to facilitate the violation of the right, we could very well be sued by other countries, challenging us at international forum. It might not affect us maybe on an economic level, but politically, it could damage our reputation for collaborating with Trump. Secondly, I don't know what's the logic. If John Brown is not from Liberia, what is the logic in sending him back to Liberia? I mean, I myself too, I'm a lawyer, but I don't understand that point. I think maybe the callers will come here and tell us if somebody is from Venezuela or Honduras and they go to the US and maybe they commit crime or the US accuses them of committing crime, what is the logic in sending them to Liberia? I still don't understand it, whether as a Liberian citizen, as an African, or
because Venezuela doesn't want to take them. So the only people that are taking that are people who are accepting aid from America right now, and America see it as this is the right time to put these people in my pocket and say what and tell them what to do.
You said the country don't want to take them. America has been deporting people back to their own country.
They're backed up. if you read an article, it says that these are migrants that their country have refused to take, or they are delaying the process.
Right, that's what they are saying. But normally, from the time we knew it, America has been deporting people back to their own countries. I'm thinking
countries are saying no.
Yeah, I'm thinking too. But some of these people are Liberians, right? Could be Liberians.
Yeah, we are obliged to take the Liberians.
Right.
I mean, of course, yeah.
Fine.
Right.
But we are not obliged to take non-Liberians.
We're not even obliged to take
I'm thinking, where in the world, which part of the world, will people commit crime in their own country, and then they call the president of America and say, the people, they are not from here. They're from all over the world. They commit crimes here. We want to send them to America. How do you even start that conversation with an American president?
Right. So Dennis, the thing is that there's something in the American law. If an immigrant comes to the United States and some other countries too, if you cannot go back home to your home country, if there are security risks and things of that nature that disallow you from returning to your home country, you can then be resettled to a third country.
Right.
Man, this is the reason why you have many Liberians here to begin with. Let's think about that. So you couldn't go back to Liberia during the war because you have legitimate fear of returning to your home country because of the war, because of being targeted, all these different things, right? So they say, okay, Liberia is not an option now for you. Okay, that's out of the question. That's X out. So what is another viable option? The country of refuge where you were is also threatened. So that's X out. You can't stay here now because, we have to get a viable solution for you. The viable solution is we're going to send you to Australia. We're going to send you to Canada. You're going to go to the United States. So there's legal. So what he's doing, it's not all crazy. There are some restrictions though. So it's not all crazy, but what is crazy is to us as Africans, why are our poor countries being used as refuge for this?
I mean, if those people were requesting for it, like for resettlement, we apply. We say we can't go back, so please take us somewhere. But in this case, you are rounding people up in the street.
They did apply. People apply. So they came in through the border, right? So the first step is you walk through the border and you announce yourself. You say, here I am. I fear for my life. I have security concerns. I have concerns. I can't go back home. I can't go back to Venezuela. So Customs and Border Patrol takes you in. Some of these people are declared as parolees. They're paroled into the United States. Some of them are accepted right away, and they work through their process that way. Some are not. So when you get into the country, you work all that process. But if the United States denies you, they have several options. They can either send you back home, or they can find a third country for you. So Trump is picking the latter. The latter. He's picking third countries for these people.
Except that he's not going through due process.
Right.
Okay.
I mean,
thank you. We're going to close. We have 1 minute to close at the 2-hour mark. So we're going to go around the room, starting with Glendy, to close. Remember now, for the first segment, I had Ms. Donna Charles, who's running to be governor of the state of New York, and then we ended with President Trump, or Boakai meeting with President Trump, and all that follow. You're closing. Each of you have 30 seconds. Let's start with
thank you, Dennis, and it's great to be on tonight. Donna Charles is actually running for governor for my state, Virginia. So it was also great to hear her be on, and we wish her all the best. But I think the discussion tonight was very good. We hope that, like people are saying now, we hope the meeting will not just end up in beautiful English, that there will be some benefits. There will be some things that we will see from it. But I think President Boakai represented our country, Liberia, today very well in whatever he spoke about, what he said that we heard. And we hope even behind closed doors, the most important thing today was the interest of Liberia. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for being here, everyone.
Thank you. Anthony Freeman.
Yeah, Dennis, whatever Mr. Trump says is not in the least bit important to me. What Boakai wants, what the Liberian legislature wants, what the Liberian people want, I think that is more important. And unless we start to say what we want and push for what we want, obviously we'll be pushed around in international forum. But we are going to be pushed around if we remain poor. We waste our money at home, we steal the other half of it, and then we allow people to push us around for small money that our leaders steal, and we clap for them. Maybe when we start stealing our money, it will take a lot more money for somebody to want to push us around. But if we continue to waste our own money, then people will believe that they can call us, push us around, and then offer chicken change and say, well, help me violate international law. Help me violate American law. Help me violate Liberian law. And I know you will do it because you're broke. So let's focus on stop being broke, manage our country well, and then maybe people will not give us a push around. I'll stop on that note.
Mr. Russell?
Yeah, I think that this meeting, I would like to be very optimistic, but I'm not going to be, because this meeting showed that our country's interest does not align with whatever it is that America wants. And as you can see from how our president spoke, he spoke directly about our minerals. He didn't speak in any connection with, accepting the immigration. I mean the migrants. And I just read his post on Facebook. He spoke nothing about no migrants coming and us accepting those things. And America is saying that is one of the sole reasons as to why they brought the 5 countries from West Africa to America. And the president is not trying to address that as of this moment. So I want to say that we wait and see what it is that he has, to say to America. But knowing that we are a country that's filled up with corrupt politicians, we don't even respect our own selves. We're trying to get people to respect us. It doesn't move me a slight bit that this meeting happened, and I don't think that this is something that Liberians should be championing on Facebook about. We should be very critical of how we look at our relationship with America.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif.
Yeah, I think of these 5 countries that attended this conference, it looks like Gabon and Senegal, they're more on the side of probably rejecting this, because Gabon is wealthy. I mean, remember the president, Brice Oligui, he said we are wealthy. He wasn't sure about it. Everyone else kept saying how poor they are. He said we are wealthy. Yeah. Gabon is. They have.
The other guys say we agree, but we are not as good as you.
Yeah. Other guys are saying, yeah, we don't have anything. We're just poor and with this and that. No, Oligui stood up, and that's the kind of thing that I like. You have to say we are wealthy. We're good. So it looks like they might stand on their feet to say no. It looks like Senegal, because of their democratic tendency, they have a very strong democracy in Senegal. Senegal may say no. They're not like Liberia. They have a very good judicial system. Ours are very, very weak. The politicians are weak. The politicians can be bought. You can buy members of the House of Representatives for a chump change, and they're going to sign off on whatever Boakai brings from the United States. So I have my doubts that Boakai is going to reject this. He is going to accept this. So let's just brace ourselves for new citizens, future new citizens to come to Liberia. I mean, compounding. Do we need more problems? Do we need more problems already? Okay, you add that to the fact that he's now saying, "Oh, go in and survey my land," and you know, look, where are we going right here? Where are we going? Like, what is this? What is this? Of all the people out there today, your president was the one in ESL class. Everyone else was not. Your president. So that's the disgrace for us. That's a disgrace. That really is.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif, and thank you, everyone. You know, they say only a fool would test the depth of a river with both feet. At least use one foot. So in this case, we are hoping that
Small.
yeah, the leaders from our fellow West African leaders.
I think we're not joining our water there. We ain't test the water. Say we jump
You
inside.
got to use one foot. Otherwise,
We jump in the water a long time as a tennis.
I don't believe so. But thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure to have you all on Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Until then, we're going to close with our song that says we are all Liberians. Even if we are joined by people from El Salvador and other places, what we should all strive to do is to make sure our country is and remain glorious land of liberty. Have a good night.
Good night.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Either you hate it or we want. Liberia. Either you hate it or we want. Liberia be Liberian.